Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. As you guys know, Bitcoin has continued to break out and we have now smashed my first target of $40,000. Is this a sign that we're going to continue to go up even higher than this, or are we going to be losing a little bit of momentum and starting a bigger correction? I'm going to be breaking down exactly the way that I think the market is going to be playing out from here, giving you guys some thoughts and analysis to go point forward to where we can be over the next couple months and know how to be positioned to be prepared to capitalize on whichever move ends up happening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are starting off today's video. Now everything that we're seeing with Bitcoin is pretty much following along the plan. We have finally hit our first target at 40K. And in my last video, I was talking about why. And in my last video, I talked about since we were making such a sustained uptrend right below that 40K level, I said that I believe that we're most likely going to far surpass that when the breakout sets in. And so far, that's exactly what we've done. We've actually come all the way up to $42,100, and it's looking like we're going to still have some more upsides. So once again, guys, I think that the next target in line for Bitcoin is going to be right here at about 43,000. But Bitcoin can run anywhere from like 45 and a half all the way up to 48 and a half. We're looking at a few different levels all the way up through here. And that's why I think that as we're getting and rallying up into so many different major resistance levels, I think it's important that we're at least aware that a bigger correction could set in. And if we were to come all the way back down and basically swipe out this prior consolidation that we've just went through, how would you be prepared for that? You know, would you be okay with that? Are you over leveraged right now, or would you be completely bankrupt if something like that happened? Now is the time that as you're coming towards resistance, you're prepared for whatever happens. And you got to be understanding that if this thing comes up, makes some sort of blow off top, and then instantly starts pulling back like this, you got to expect that we would have some sort of sell-off that would come all the way back down to retest some of these levels, and could even come all the way back down to retest this prior high being like $31,000. These are all potentials that we have to be aware of, and anytime we've seen Bitcoin make significant moves like this, we've always seen some sort of a pullback follow. So as we're getting closer towards these major resistance levels, we just have to be aware of this long term. Now, when we're coming in here and looking at Ethereum, Ethereum is finally breaking out of that prior high, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin. Overall, when I'm seeing ETH just barely breaking out of its range high, I'm wondering, you know, how big of a move it has coming and how its final move is actually going to happen, because Bitcoin is already nearing these resistance levels. So I don't know if maybe Bitcoin pops off right here and then it makes a pullback, and during that lower high, maybe that's when the altcoins get a little momentum, or maybe Bitcoin and ETH, they just kind of come up here, Bitcoin pulls back, and then ETH does the exact same thing again, where we come back down to that same trend line again. It's a potential nonetheless. We don't know what is going to happen. We would love to see a breakout here, but if it doesn't happen and Bitcoin, you know, has some type of larger correction, I don't see that there's any real potential where ETH just doesn't pull back with Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin is going to have any sort of major sell-off, every single time that we've had one of these big corrections in the market, ETH has had a major correction too. So if Bitcoin pulls back over in here, relatively close to where we're at, we're going to expect to see the same sort of sell-off happen inside of ETH. And if Bitcoin is to have a deeper pullback all the way back down to some of these lower levels, you know, we could be looking at ETH coming all the way back down near that trend line, or even back down to kind of like this prior level, I would say right there, being like 17,500, pretty much the level that we just barely broke from to start this new uptrend. These are just things that we have to be aware of because of the fact Bitcoin is getting at resistance. Anytime Bitcoin is rocketing up towards resistance after such a significant breakout, there's going to be some sort of a sell-off, and so we want to be prepared for any of those scenarios to happen, regardless of how it takes shape. Now, when we look over here at the total market cap, we're just sitting at a little bit of a higher point. The only difference is we finally hit kind of this little, I'm going to use a box instead so it's easier to see. These bottom wicks over here, we finally tagged these two, and that's kind of where we're seeing this initial sell-off. We kind of hit our first real resistance since this breakout. But I do think that this is going to most likely end up going just a little bit higher as long as Bitcoin kind of continues to do the same thing. Now, with the total altcoin market cap, these ones finally tagged their range high going all the way back to June. Now, ETH is obviously broken out, right? ETH is currently sitting outside of those range highs, but the total altcoin market cap, they're still below it. And we just tagged the June high right over in here, and we are seeing a little bit of a pullback. But what we're coming back down to is pretty much this same range high that we've been consolidating below the entire point, you know, pretty much since we tagged this level in April at about $660 billion. So as we're getting up here, this just reminds me of the similar consolidation that Bitcoin went through right over here, where it was just making those first little higher highs and it had to go through a little bit of consolidation to get to the point of breaking out. And this just looks similar to me. The only difference here is the fact that we've seen Bitcoin make such a big move and the altcoins haven't really done a whole lot. So I'm really interested to see how they're actually going to hold up if Bitcoin sees any type of a pullback in here, right? Because if Bitcoin sees a pullback, all of these are going to see a pullback as well. The altcoins are most definitely going to pull back. And then we would be looking at something, you know, maybe like this, where they drop all the way back down near the point where they broke out from. Because if we do see Bitcoin do that, you know, the altcoins are 100% going to follow suit. They're going to come back down to whatever level Bitcoin does. So we've been through this consolidation here in the total market cap. If Bitcoin comes all the way back down there as well, we're going to be expecting to see the total market cap retest those prior levels too. The only difference would be the total market cap would probably be coming back down to be retesting the range highs that we kind of just broke from. Bitcoin would be coming fairly close to that same level. ETH, it would actually be coming back below those range highs again, probably somewhere around 19,050, I would say, all the way down to like 17,065. So that's kind of the main areas of demand that I see happening inside of the market moving forward. If we do see any type of a pullback, if we end up seeing Bitcoin make a much bigger move and it kind of just instantly goes straight to this $48,500 level, I wouldn't be surprised to see ETH finally start to pick up a little bit. It's so far lagged quite a bit, but we're expecting to see some type of a breakout. After we finally cleared out of this resistance, I would be anticipating some type of a more significant breakout, but we got to just be prepared for any scenario. If we do see a pullback, we don't want to be over leveraged in anything crazy, just because that would be a better opportunity of getting in rather than trying to be so over leveraged at this breakout when a pullback would actually end up just costing you more money long term. So we don't want to be making any of those mistakes. Now, the main chart that I'm really looking at here with where altcoins are going to outperform really comes down to the Bitcoin dominance. We've been looking at this chart a little bit, looking at 2017, and the reason really why 2017 was so profitable was because the Bitcoin dominance was in bearish price discovery, which basically just means altcoins were outperforming against Bitcoin as a whole. Then we went through the 2018 and 2019 part of the cycle, and then Bitcoin peaked over here, or what I should say, Bitcoin dominance peaked at the end of COVID, the bottom of that capitulation right there. And then this was our entire last bull run for the altcoins. It never was nearly to the same size as what we did see in 2017, but I am believing that this next cycle is actually going to be once again in bearish price discovery, which is why we're going to see a lot more profits inside of altcoins as a whole. Now we're approaching this descending resistance for the first time since that COVID sell-off at the low. Now I think that this is going to end up peaking somewhere around 56% dominance. That's at least right on contact with that prior all-time descending resistance. So we do want to see some type of a pullback at that level. If Bitcoin just keeps going up, you know, that's not going to look very good for the altcoins. What I wouldn't be surprised to see would be something like this, where Bitcoin maybe peaks above, but then comes back down to close below, something like that, where this just becomes some type of a fake out, maybe similar to like what happened right here. I don't know 100% what's going to happen here, but what we would be expecting is that as Bitcoin touches this descending resistance, if we're going to go into a new cycle for the altcoins, we're nearing the point of the halving. We're nearing a point in the cycle where we're already a year into it. I mean, we would expect to see some sort of shift happening inside of that market, in my opinion. And it makes sense that it would pivot around the point where we actually do have this long-term descending resistance. So if we're looking at all of these charts, you know, we're at an important time because Bitcoin's approaching resistance. We're kind of making this little blow-off tops type of move we've been talking about. Ethereum is finally breaking its range highs, but as Bitcoin is approaching resistance, we don't really know where Ethereum is going to go. Do we get some type of short-term correction back down before we're finally able to get that lift off, you know, another one of these, but maybe a little bit shorter in time. I don't know 100%, but if we do, I would expect that to be kind of like, in the total market cap anyways, more of a retest of the range highs. If the total market cap in Bitcoin kind of comes back down and retests the range highs, or at least close to, we would be expecting ETH to come all the way back down, back below its range highs. And then inside of the altcoins, we're once again going to be expecting them to come back down fairly low, you know, probably all the way back down to like $560 billion, which would be pretty much where we originally started this uptrend from. So if that happens, we just want to be aware, you know, it might take a little bit more time before we're finally at the point where the altcoins are going to start making their big breakouts. I just wouldn't be the least bit surprised. And if that does happen, and if that is the case, and this ends up being something like this, before we get this correction like that, don't be caught off guard if we see something like this, and it really tricks a lot of people. Anytime we are approaching range highs, it's resistance. We've still yet to be able to break out. Bitcoin is approaching resistance, and it's at resistance. ETH is, you know, clearing the range highs, but we could still easily just see a pullback in the same way that it was technically clearing the range highs right over here. So that's what I'm thinking moving forward. Wanted to give you guys this update, clear up some thoughts, summarize some points that I wanted to get through. If you guys did find value in this, will you please do me a favor and leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. Guys, I appreciate you. I love you guys. Every single person that does any sort of, you know, benefit to this channel, even if it's just watching the videos. I'm very grateful for any support that you guys give. And as the markets are moving, it's just encouraging to see that, you know, we're already a year into the bull market. We've got 2 years left. The most fun of the cycle happens in the next 2 years. And regardless if we see a short-term pullback in here, I still think that the opportunity is absolutely massive long-term. So we're going to watch out for this stuff. Wanted to keep you guys prepared. Once again, guys, if you do want to see how I'm investing my portfolio long-term, you can always click in the description of this video, and then you're going to be able to sign up on my website for my VIP group. That's in my Discord. I post all my private analysis, any trades that I take, anything that I'm doing with my personal portfolio over the course of this cycle, I post inside of Discord. So if you guys want to be able to get those live updates, lifetime access, links are in the description to go to my website and sign up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.